And he was explaining that she was injured, when in fact the private secretary, Michael, was telling the six of us in the office that sadly she'd died.
More than 2 decades after Princess Diana's fatal crash in Paris, the truth behind the tragedy still haunts those closest to her, especially her trusted driver, Colin Tebbit. In his first live interview since that night, Colin unveils powerful, never-before-heard perspectives that reshape how we see those hours of heartbreak and hope. What really happened during those chaotic moments, and how deeply has it affected the people who lived it? Prepare to hear the memories that stunned the world and confront the human cost behind one of modern history's most tragic losses. The night changes forever. The night of August 31st, 1997 began like any other, but it would soon etch itself as one of the most tragic and unforgettable in modern history. Colin Tebbit, Princess Diana's regular driver, recalls that night with a mix of sorrow and lingering disbelief. Though not behind the wheel that evening, he has carried a profound sense of responsibility ever since. His first-hand perspective offers a unique window into the chaos and heartbreak that followed the fatal crash in Paris. Colin's reflections reveal how swiftly normal life shattered into confusion and grief. The car crash wasn't just a headline, it became a deeply personal trauma for those who knew Diana well. The sense of loss is still raw decades later, underscoring the emotional weight that no news report can truly capture. As the driver entrusted with her safety for years, the burden of that night haunts Colin, shaping his story with pain and unresolved feelings. What makes Colin's story especially compelling is how it intertwines the public spectacle with private sorrow. While the world watched in horror, Colin's experience was rooted in intimate moments of shock and helplessness. He evokes the relentless media storm, the official announcements, and the private realities that often diverged wildly. Yet beneath the headlines, there was an overwhelming human tragedy unfolding, one he witnessed up close. Colin also shares the difficult emotions that came with not being the one driving on that fateful night. This feeling of what if casts a long shadow, adding layers of guilt and introspection to his memories. His words remind us that the impact of such loss is never confined to those directly involved in the accident, but ripples out to affect many lives. His silence for years now breaks, offering clarity and empathy that history deserves. Despite the trauma, Colin exhibits a remarkable professionalism mixed with deep reverence. He honors Diana's dignity even as he recounts details no one should have to face. His account is punctuated by moments of quiet grief, conveying a powerful emotional resonance without sensationalism. It's a story that demands respect for both the tragedy and the people who struggled to manage it. Importantly, Colin's statement doesn't dive immediately into all the details of the crash or the controversies that followed. Instead, he sets the scene, emphasizing the overwhelming transformation of an ordinary evening into a historic loss. This approach engages curiosity while preparing viewers for the complex and intimate revelations ahead. It also stresses the unresolved feelings that have lingered beneath public memory. As Colin unveils his perspective, the story becomes not just about what happened, but about how those closest to Diana wrestled with heartbreak and duty. The night that changed everything is shown through a lens of personal connection and haunting regret. His voice carries the weight of decades of reflection, inviting us to listen beyond the facts to the human story within. What began as a tragedy felt worldwide is, through Colin's eyes, a deeply human experience marked by shock, responsibility, and lasting grief. The call that shattered normalcy. Colin Tebbit was at home when the phone rang, a call that would forever alter his life. At first, it seemed routine. His wife answered casually, exchanging light banter with the caller, a colleague from Balmoral. But the tone shifted quickly. Recognizing something was wrong, she handed the phone to Colin with the grim warning that he better sit on the edge of the bed for the news he was about to receive. On the other end was confirmation that Princess Diana had been involved in a car crash in Paris. Colin's world tilted instantly. The initial uncertainty soon gave way to a rapid flood of images from the television screen, where breaking news reported the incident. Watching the tragic scenes unfold live, disbelief mixed with growing dread had overwhelmed him. An ordinary night had become a nightmare no one could have predicted. The phone call marked the brutal transition from normal life to crisis mode. There was no time for preparation, only reaction. Colin felt the urgent pull of responsibility as he hurried to start his journey to Kensington Palace. The emotions swirling inside him were complex, a mixture of shock, sorrow, and a creeping helplessness that no training could have prepared him for. That call stands out as a pivotal moment, a shattering point where everything changed. It forced him to confront the terrifying reality that the woman he served and cared for was gravely injured. Even now, he recalls how surreal it felt to receive such devastating news in the quiet of his home, so far from the chaos that lay ahead. The official dissemination of the story created additional confusion, which worsened the existing distress. Public reports conflicted with private information, creating a fog of uncertainty. Colin experienced a duality of emotions as he observed the actual events, which led to the discovery of truth. The present moment demonstrated his upcoming essential obligation, which he must fulfill. Colin recognized his new function after he processed the call because his responsibilities changed from driver and protector to performing a mission which required him to execute excruciating tasks that extended beyond his regular duties. The transition was abrupt but total, with no room for hesitation. The news created an urgent need for immediate response because it destroyed all aspects of regular life. His account also humanizes the experience. The professional alert became a personal impact which she experienced at that moment. The phone call functions as an emotional entry point, which leads to exploring the tragic events that followed, showing how everything changed for the people involved. Colin faced the unimaginable, first in a voice over the phone, then in the reality awaiting him. The moments before and after that phone call show us the personal experience of public tragedies which affect people throughout society. The reminder shows us that actual human experiences exist behind the headlines, which show how news affects people deeply, making them experience burdens that others cannot see. That uneasy night set the stage for a journey fraught with confusion, grief, and responsibility that Colin would carry for decades to come. Arriving at the scene. With the devastating news settling in, Colin Tebbit quickly prepared to leave, embarking first to Kensington Palace, the center of the British royal family's world during crisis. His drive was heavy with thought, a mix of shock and sorrow pressing on his mind. Arriving there, the gravity of the situation intensified. The tragic reality was no longer distant news, but an unfolding personal and national calamity. At Kensington, Colin was met with a palpable atmosphere of tension and heartbreak. The palace had become a focal point for those closest to Princess Diana, a place where the raw impact of loss was felt most intensely. For Colin, it was a place where official formality met private grief, a complex intersection he had to navigate carefully. From there, Colin was summoned on a mission few could imagine, to travel to Paris and bring Diana's body home. The journey was laden with emotion and responsibility. While many saw it as merely logistical, for Colin it was deeply personal. A solemn task to honor the dignity of someone he admired profoundly. The transition from palace to airport to Paris itself symbolized the widening scope of tragedy. Upon landing in Paris, the scale of the event hit Colin with renewed force. The city was gripped by shock, with media from around the world swarming in a frenzy. The chaos was overwhelming, a testament to the global significance of Diana's death. Colin's role became a delicate balance of managing practical duties amid intense public scrutiny and sorrow. The process of navigating Paris became difficult because of multiple challenges, which included language barriers. Colin needed his wife's French-speaking ability to help him since he could not understand the language. The practical support he received enabled him to navigate through the complicated system, which added to his emotional difficulties. His description of events demonstrates how personal matters and work obligations affected his experience during his first hour after the fatal accident. Key figures also entered the scene to assist. Colin remembered Brigadier Ritchie as a military attaché who had worked with Princess Anne to offer him assistance. The connection provided him with a means to cope with the strange situation, since it created a feeling of familiarity during his difficult time. The royal family maintains personal relationships, which become most evident during times of crisis. Colin arrived at the hospital where Diana had been taken, which provided him with an authentic experience of the events which were reported in the news. The hospital displayed a state of extreme activity because medical staff and patients and mourners created a scene of intense sadness. Colin's description creates a strong image of people who share feelings of grief while they struggle to understand the situation, which causes a heavy atmosphere of shock and compassion. The environment created a situation which made everything appear to be more critical. The facility functioned as a medical center, which also served as a space where people mourned together their loved ones who had passed away. Colin found the experience of entering this environment to be one of his most difficult emotional challenges during his life. The situation tested his ability to maintain control while he experienced intense emotional distress. The moments Colin spent traveling toward Paris also marked a transition from uncertainty to confronting the final heartbreaking truth. Facing death in Paris. When Colin Tebbit arrived in Paris, he was immediately immersed in a scene dominated by chaos and sorrow. The city was gripped by an overwhelming media presence, with reporters and cameras flooding every corner, hungry for any detail. This relentless spotlight added a harsh urgency to Colin's mission, one that was no longer just professional, but deeply personal. The weight pressing on him was immense, knowing he had to honor the dignity of someone he genuinely admired amidst the storm of public grief. The atmosphere in Paris was heavy with shock as the world grappled with the sudden loss of Princess Diana. Colin recalls how difficult it was to navigate not only the logistical challenges, but the intensity of emotions swirling all around. His role required a calm and steady presence amid the heartbreak, a task harder than anyone might anticipate. He was tasked with upholding respect, privacy, and the solemnity deserved by a kingdom's beloved figure. One of the most harrowing moments for Colin was the duty of seeing Diana's body laid out in a stark mortuary room. The clinical surroundings contrasted painfully with the warmth and vitality he remembered in her. Standing there, confronted firsthand with the finality of her death, drove home the devastating reality. It marked a point when grief passed from abstract to deeply tangible, embedding itself forever in his memory. Colin's emotions surfaced as he described how he took immediate steps to protect Diana's dignity. The room was sweltering, lacking curtains, exposed to prying eyes, and he quickly improvised. Using blankets to cover windows and fans to ease the heat, he sought to shield her from public view and maintain her privacy. These actions highlight the acute awareness Colin had of the delicate balance between public curiosity and personal respect. Colin displayed professionalism throughout his work, yet he confessed that the intense moment brought him overwhelming pressure. He remembered the exact moment when Diana's eyelashes fluttered because of the fan's breeze, which revealed her human vulnerability behind her serious appearance. The moment hit him hard, so he needed to stop working for a while to recover before he resumed his difficult assignment. The study showed how deeply emotional responsibilities affected people who had to carry such duties. The world response, which showed through the extensive media coverage outside the building, brought no relief to the situation. The crowd and cameras, which gathered near the hospital, along with the locations dealing with Diana's treatment, showed how the world grieved while staying interested in her situation. Colin dedicated himself to his work as a caregiver because he wanted to treat her death with complete respect and compassion. The way he spent time in Paris showed how public events and private mourning created two separate worlds which built his entire experience. Colin's personal understanding of his experiences shows how he dealt with people who wanted to see him while they observed his every move. The people who shared the tragedy with him failed to understand the personal burden which he carried as his special struggle. His story shows how he battled alone to combine his love for others with his sadness and his obligation to serve under difficult situations. He shared his grief with everyone, yet he had to bear the complete weight of his duties. Colin uses extreme honesty to describe his past experiences, which allows him to reveal his inner pain while showing the human side of events that news articles describe in simplistic terms. His story demonstrates how tragic death creates lasting effects, which extend to people who do not take part in the immediate situation. The people who served during history's most challenging moments show their quiet dignity through their dedication to work behind the scenes. With this vivid image of grief and solemn responsibility etched in his mind, Colin's journey then leads to the desperate attempt to save Diana's life, a battle waged in the hospital's operating rooms against overwhelming odds. The medical battle. The medical efforts to save Princess Diana began immediately after her arrival at Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital, where Colin Tebbit recalls the palpable tension and urgency among the medical team. Paramedics had worked tirelessly at the crash site, stabilizing her before transport. However, upon arrival, the severity of her injuries became brutally clear. Diana was suffering from extensive internal bleeding, a discovery that triggered frantic attempts to control her condition. Colin heard how the medical team, led by Dr. Monddaman and others, undertook invasive procedures to stabilize her. One such procedure was critical for enabling her to breathe, addressing the compromised heart function caused by blood loss. The hospital turned into a battlefield, with specialists racing against time to save a life hanging by a thread. These desperate interventions illustrated the grave challenges faced in those early hours. The situation deteriorated rapidly when doctors identified a torn pericardium, the membrane surrounding the heart, complicating an already critical state. This tear severely impaired Diana's heart function, further jeopardizing her chances. Colin's retelling underscores the severity that medical staff confronted, revealing a scene marked by intense focus and mounting despair. Around 2:30 a.m., Professor Alan Pavey, a renowned cardiac surgeon, was called in to assist with the emergency surgery. Together with the team, he worked meticulously to locate and repair the source of the bleeding, a tear in the upper left pulmonary vein near the heart. This effort was a race against time, a desperate attempt to reverse damage that, in hindsight, proved irreparable. Despite their best efforts, Diana's condition worsened. The medical team employed electric shocks in multiple attempts to restore her heart rhythm, a sign of their relentless dedication. Colin conveys the sorrow and frustration expressed by the doctors. Every tool and measure was utilized, but the heart would not revive. The exhaustion of hope was both professional and profoundly emotional. The hours that followed were a heartbreaking testament to human limits. For over an hour, the team battled to resuscitate Diana, knowing the stakes, yet ultimately had to accept the inevitable around 4 a.m. The decision to cease efforts was wrenching, but underscored the insurmountable nature of her injuries. This moment marked the tragic end to a valiant struggle. In the fallout of this loss, the medical team, including Dr. Damon, faced intense scrutiny. Public grief turned toward suspicion, fueled by conspiracy theories and painful speculation about the care Diana received. Colin's account situates these challenges alongside the professionals enduring guilt and sorrow, emotions compounded by their devoted efforts and the global spotlight. Despite accusations, an official investigation, Operation Paget, would later affirm the expertise and dedication of those involved in Diana's care. Colin remembers the thoroughness of the inquiry and the eventual reassurance that every possible measure had been taken to save the princess. This vindication matters deeply, restoring honor to a team profoundly affected by one of history's most tragic medical emergencies. The medical battle behind the headlines reveals a raw struggle against fate and the heartbreaking reality of limits in even the most skilled hands. It reminds us that behind every public event are personal sacrifices and professional tragedies unknown to most, painting a fuller picture of Diana's final and desperate hours. The weight of this medical battle opens the way to explore the emotional toll borne by Colin as he continued to fulfill his painful duties amid grief and deepened responsibility. Lingering guilt and professionalism. Even years after that tragic night, Colin Tebbit carries a deep and persistent sense of guilt. Not being behind the wheel on the evening of the crash weighs heavily on him. He candidly admits that this feeling of responsibility never really leaves. The haunting what-if question echoes continually in his mind. This burden is compounded by the intimate bond he shared with Princess Diana, making the loss profoundly personal and painful. Colin's grief is not marked by self-blame alone, but by a respectful, almost solemn professionalism. He recognizes that mistakes were not the cause and that many factors played into the tragedy. Yet, his internal struggle shows how complex grief can be when intertwined with duty. It highlights the human side of those who work behind the scenes in the lives of public figures. Throughout his interview, Colin's emotion surfaces subtly but powerfully. He fights to maintain composure, especially when recalling the most difficult moments, including the realization that Princess Diana had passed. This restraint speaks to the enormity of his role, not only as a witness, but as a caretaker of her final dignity. His manner reflects a balance between honoring her memory and processing his own sorrow. He also reflects on the profound respect and affection he had for Diana as an employer and person. Their relationship, though professional, was underscored by mutual kindness and understanding. Often sharing quiet moments and conversations in the car, Colin remembers her humor and warmth. This personal connection intensifies his grief, but also his commitment to preserving her dignity. The emotional impact of the situation affected more than just personal emotional responses. Colin had to perform his duties under immense public scrutiny and pressure, navigating a media frenzy while maintaining discretion. His dedication to his work helped him withstand times when everyone was watching him, which proved his dedication to his job. He faced a demanding situation which required him to handle multiple responsibilities because of his emotional distress. Every single task required him to do became a source of emotional burden. He experienced extreme pressure, which turned basic tasks such as hospital window covering and privacy control into protective gestures of support. The decision-making process imposed heavy burdens on him because he had to choose between public interest and personal privacy. His responsibility for others creates an emotional conflict between his professional obligations and his deep feelings of sadness. Colin's story demonstrates how external elements, such as conspiracy theories and public speculation, stretch out the process of grieving. The circulating rumors about the crash raised the level of pain while they created dangerous situations for people who were involved. Colin observed that all people connected to the disaster faced challenges in achieving peace because of ongoing disputes. Colin demonstrates inner strength through his quiet strength, which enables him to handle all challenging situations. His decision to share his thoughts after so many years shows both his bravery and his goal to present Princess Diana's story in an authentic and respectful manner. The research provides insights into how disasters create lasting impacts on people who handle sensitive positions. Colin's continuing guilt, together with his work ethic, shows that grief has made him into a person who upholds respect and dignity for his late partner. The shadows cast by grief and public scrutiny led naturally into the swirl of conspiracy theories and investigations that followed, complicating the search for truth and closure. Clearing the fog of conspiracy. In the years following Princess Diana's death, Colin Tebbit found himself amid a tangled web of speculation and conspiracy theories. Public discourse became saturated with doubts about the crash's cause and the integrity of those involved in her care. These unfounded claims cast suspicion on medical staff, officials, and even people like Colin, amplifying the emotional strain they already bore. The atmosphere surrounding Diana's passing was not only grief, but confusion and mistrust. Colin recalls the relentless scrutiny and how it affected everyone connected to the tragedy. Accusations and rumors, particularly fueled by figures like Mohammed Al-Fayed, created a storm of suspicion. The search for answers became overshadowed by allegations of conspiracies, turning a personal and national loss into a high-stakes drama. For Colin and others, this added a painful distraction from mourning and healing. In response to mounting pressure and growing public unease, a thorough investigation named Operation Paget was launched in the early 2000s. Led by former Metropolitan Police Chief Lord John Stevens, this inquiry delved deeply into every aspect of the fatal night. Colin speaks of the investigation as a painstaking but necessary process to bring clarity, separate facts from fiction, and restore faith in those involved. The results of Operation Paget reached critical importance. The inquiry proved that all medical staff members who treated Diana, including leading forensic specialists, showed professional skills which they had acquired through training. The official confirmation resolved all suspicions while proving that conspiracy theories about the matter, which had been wrongly believed as true, should be dismissed. The proof of my innocence brought Colin both relief and confirmation of his actual situation. Public opinion about Colin through this chapter shows the battle which exists between what people think and what actually occurs. The ongoing existence of conspiracy theories demonstrates how public mourning transforms into distrust, which makes it difficult for people to achieve emotional closure. His story shows how the people who suffer from unjust treatment must continue working with high dedication even when everything around them becomes chaotic. The investigation serves as proof of both transparent operations and responsible conduct. The public received reassurance through this process, which protected the medical staff members who had to handle the devastating situation. The official acknowledgement of their efforts during one of the most painful events in history brought Colin and his team members closer to achieving their inner peace. The clearing of suspicion and the affirmation of truth set the stage for a deeper reflection on Princess Diana's legacy and the personal memories held close by those who loved and served her. A legacy of memory and respect. Colin Tebbit's story offers an intimate glimpse into the final hours of Princess Diana, shedding light on both the tragedy and the deeply personal loyalty he bore for her. His reflections go beyond public headlines, revealing the quiet dignity with which those closest to Diana carried out their duties amid devastating loss. This legacy of respect forms a crucial part of how we remember her, not just as a global icon, but as a person cherished by those who knew her best. Through Colin's memories, we understand that Diana's humanity extended far beyond royal protocol. He recalls moments of genuine warmth, humor, and kindness during their many hours together on the road. Despite the boundaries maintained by their professional roles, the connection was marked by mutual respect and affection. Such insights reveal a fuller picture of Diana's character, highlighting the lightness beneath the immense pressure she bore. The weight of grief carried by Colin and others speaks to the profound impact Diana had on those around her. His candid admissions of sorrow and duty underscore a shared experience of loss that few outside her inner circle could fully grasp. This collective mourning shaped not only personal lives, but also the public's enduring sense of loss and admiration. Colin's commitment to preserving Diana's dignity, whether by shielding her from intrusive media or carrying out somber responsibilities, illustrates the respect that framed his actions. It also emphasizes how grief often intertwines with professionalism in unexpected ways. His experience reminds us that honoring the departed requires both emotional strength and practical attention to detail, especially in the public eye. The public mourning of Diana by millions of people did not reveal to most people the deep suffering which her death responders experienced. Colin's voice fills this gap because it shows how people make sacrifices which their family members need to keep hidden from public view. The group consists of people who did important work which established the present historical record, but they suffer from emotional pain because they keep historical materials. Colin's first time to speak about Diana marks an important moment which shows us about her life story. The public memory of her death shows us how people felt about her death while her private life exists behind her public persona. His account is a call to compassion, not just for Diana, but for everyone shaped by her life and loss. The extended view of the situation creates a better understanding of Diana because it shows how her story affects the entire world. The story goes between exciting news reports to show the delicate nature which affects all the people who share Diana's life. All of her life events become a part of the ongoing remembrance process, which shows respect for cultural diversity and shows our common human bond. Colin's Diana remembrance links public mourning and his personal sadness, which he experiences. The truth of his story demonstrates how every historical moment requires people to deal with their emotional responses and their professional responsibilities and their personal relationships. Human behavior determines how people experience history and how they create historical record and how they pay tribute to their past. Colin Tebbit presents his account, which helps us understand Princess Diana beyond her public persona, to show her impact on her immediate family. The story demands that we look beyond news articles to discover the deep personal accounts which honor her memory through dignified and compassionate methods. Colin Tebbit's heartfelt recollections offer a rare and touching glimpse behind the scenes of a historic tragedy. His story reminds us how grief, duty, and respect intertwine in unimaginable ways. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe for more thoughtful insights into history's untold moments. Thank you for watching.